ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהכל נהיה בדברו. I have mentioned this in the past also, but I want to reiterate it. The biblical heroes, the personalities we see in the Hebrew, are not unidimensional. They're complicated individuals. It is not a simple person. There are transformations, and we have to look at their lives in order to understand them a little bit better. I want to delve today on our third patriarch, Jacob. Why was he called Jacob, Yaakov in Hebrew? Because when he was born, he was holding on the heel of his brother. He followed his brother. In other words, what Yaakov really means, not somebody who commands, who tells you where to go. The other way around, he follows you. You know, follower is basically a definition of Jacob. And you can see, for instance, his brother comes from a day in the field. He's very tired. And he says, let me have your rights as firstborn. It's not, he wants from somebody else, his rights as firstborn. As a matter of fact, when the father says to Esau, Esav, go into the field, bring me food, and I will give you my blessing, Yaakov disguises himself, makes believe in front of Esav that he is really Esav, and he receives the blessing of Esav. True, his mother, Rivka, is the one that does everything, but Yaakov accepts that. He lends himself to do that. In other words, you see that Yaakov has no initiative. When he's about to get married and he's in love with Rachel. So his father-in-law, his future father-in-law, Lavan, does something. He makes a change. The night of the wedding, he puts the other daughter, Leah, the older one, instead of Rachel. Well, apparently it was very dark, or I don't know what explanation to give it. In any event, in the morning, the Torah says, Yaakov gets up in the morning after the marital night. He says, oh, it's Leah, it's not Rachel. In other words, things are done for him. You know, Yaakov becomes very rich next to Lavan. But it was Lavan. He was the one that had all the cattle. Yaakov received something for his work, but you can see that he is really working for somebody else. He is not the boss. Yaakov is a follower. And now we come to a certain event that is going to take place in his life. After 20 years, he's going to meet his brother Esau, Esav. And it says in the Torah, Vayivater Yaakov levado. The night before meeting his brother, he remains alone. Some of our rabbis say, where were his sons? Why didn't they accompany him? How come they left him alone the night before meeting his brother? Maybe this is very intentional. Yaakov had to learn that he had to defend himself, that he had to take initiatives without the help of anybody, without his mother telling him what to do, without his father telling him what to do, his brothers, his father-in-law. He had to be the one that decides what he's going to do. The Torah says that he has an encounter with an ish, a man, but no name is given. Our rabbis think that this is really an angel that came to fight with him. He has a tremendous fight. Nobody is helping him. This time Yaakov has to rely upon his own forces, upon his own will, his own determination, and he becomes victorious. Yaakov learns something very important, that he doesn't have to depend on somebody else. He doesn't have to steal a blessing from somebody, that he is the man for himself. And the angel says, you know what? From now on, your name is not going to be Yaakov, your name is going to be Israel. It's a tremendous change. It's not like the case of Abraham. His name was originally Avram, and God changes to Avraham. Sarah, her original name was Sarai. God changes it to Sarah. It's a slight modification. It's the same name, basically. But in the case of Jacob, of Yaakov, it's a totally different name. Israel, what does that mean? It means that there was a change of personality. As a matter of fact, I think that one has to read the Torah very carefully. It seems that he comes out wounded. In other words, he fought and he received a wound and he continued notwithstanding that. And because of the wound that he received, we can't eat a certain part of the animal because of Jacob. But he comes out with a wound to show that this was real. It wasn't just a dream that he had. He had to fight with himself and become a different person. This is why when Yaakov meets Esav the following day, and Esav says he's there with 400 people, and he says to him, why don't you accompany me? You know, accompany me means what? Who knows? And Yaakov has the fortitude. No, I'm not going with you. He gives an excuse that my family travels very slowly. He doesn't want to go with him. He asserts his own personality. Yaakov becomes Israel. For the first time, after so many years, he learns to rely upon himself, that actually strength comes from within you, not because your mother, your father, or somebody else is supporting you. Of course, maybe it's necessary, but strength comes from yourself. But I want to conclude saying, even though the name was changed, in the case of Abraham, for instance, he's never called Avram again. Once you find it in one obscure passage. Sarai, she's Sarah, that's it. But in the case of Yaakov, the name Israel is not there all the time. Yaakov continues because, in other words, Yaakov had a tremendous change of personality, but his wholesomeness, his loyalty to his parents, his truthfulness that he had inside him, his love for Torah, for study, that didn't abandon him. It is actually not a total change of trend. He's not reborn again. What is, he has a new attitude in life in addition to his good qualities. I think each and every one of us has to think about that, you know? We don't have to change completely. You don't have to become another person. But from time to time, you have to think. You have to acquire new initiatives. You have to acquire new traits, how you face problems. Of course, you have good modalities. You have done great. You're a good son, you're a good husband, and so on. But maybe there are things that you have to do differently. And the combination of two make really Yaakov the father of the Jewish people. True, we have three patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but we are called Bnei Israel. We are the children of Israel because he was able to accommodate his personality without renouncing everything he had before to acquire new traits that asserted his own personality.